Hey, if it's Tuesday, you know that it's time for Comic Book School, the only podcast where we teach you all about the craft and business of making comics, except last week when we didn't talk about comics and this week when we're not going to talk about comics. But that's okay. We're going to talk about Robot Chicken because last week we had Matt and Seth on all about Robot Chicken stuff. And now we are going to talk about some behind the scenes stuff. And we'll give a little intros here. You know, we got Buddy, who's a comic writer, award-winning comic book writer. He's not here tonight, so it's just me. And then we have me, of course. And if you'll notice over in the little left-hand corner over there, we have our guest tonight, Mr. Dan Milano.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Dan. How are you? Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go.
I'm good, my friend.
So tonight we're going to be talking all about the behind-the-scenes stuff in the Robot Chicken room.
We're going back because I'm OG Robot Chicken.
Yes.
Okay, like I met Seth on the set of the Fox sitcom Greg the Bunny, which I created, and man, we became fast friends immediately. We just geeked out over everything, and we talked about Toy Fair Theater and how much we loved it. And a couple months into shooting Greg the Bunny, you guys started doing the Sweet J short films, which were the precursor to Robot Chicken. And everyone from Greg the Bunny, Sarah Silverman, Eugene Levy, like would pack into Seth's dressing room and we would watch these Robot Chicken sketches. And so once, I mean, I was there when you guys were coming up with the title, trying to figure out what to call the show.
Yep.
And you know, because I knew Seth and we were such good friends, he allowed me to be part of the first season, like writing and voicing. And then since then, I just became kindred with you guys. And I went on to do writing in other cycles and definitely on the Star Wars specials. But really it was that first season I was all in, like on everything. And most of my memories come from those formative years.
Yes, and we have well, here's some of your credits, all the stuff that you've written on and created and done.
Yeah, I did that stuff. I created GlitchTechs and Warren the Ape, all shows you've never heard of. And I play the dad on Dawn of the Croods, and I wrote some episodes, and
all that fun stuff. And we actually have another special guest coming on to join us, Mr. Kevin Shinick.
Hey!
Oh my God!
How we doing?
Kev, good to see you.
You know, I was just scrolling through the internet. I saw you guys having so much fun. I thought, let me stop in and say hello.
Hello, Kevin.
Good to see you, Kev. And hey, I made a little slideshow of your stuff too, Kev.
What?
Let's see what Kev's
there we go.
Oh my God, you're better than my agent.
Look at that. Kev's done. He's done Mad, Spider-Man.
That's right.
And he was the host of Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego.
That is correct. That is correct.
And he's got his new book coming out.
Yep, my new graphic novel, Host Mortem. It all comes full circle, Mike. I started with Carmen Sandiego, and I'm heading back to it.
And you're back to the time travel stuff.
Time travel. Well, as you and I talked about, I'm just gonna do a little plug. I really the three of us have always talked about manifesting things. And earlier this year, I was like, what can I do that only I can do? And I came up with the idea for Host Mortem. And I thought, well, what else can I do? And I called my agents and said, like, should I start hosting again? And they were like, well, no one's looking for you. And I was like, okay. And then I wound up getting the role of the ultimate host, Dick Clark, in the new Michael Jackson movie. So I swear to God, I feel like I shook the host tree and some things fell out.
Mike, I mean, Kevin, I did not know that, and that's awesome. That's such good casting.
I know.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
I was like, wow. So, and it was so funny when the audition came across my desk. I was already annoyed that I wasn't going to get it. I was like, I'm so perfect for this that I won't get it, and then I got it. So, what
for you
that day?
Oh, we got one of our commenters. Blank Stare says he liked the theme song for Where in Time better than the original.
You know what? Just between you and the million people on the internet, I agree. But they, to be fair, they were both written by the same guy, Sean, who wrote the Where in the World, also did Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, Sean Altman. So we have him to thank for both of them.
Look, huge shout out to Sean Altman, because I gotta say, John Williams gets all these great titles, Jurassic Park, and he gets like Raiders of the
Superman.
Yeah. So who the fuck's gonna do it? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? It's like the most unintuitive thing to make a theme song around, and it was so catchy and it was so
really
good.
was. It really was. He did an amazing. He did almost the impossible.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
I actually have a robot chicken toy buying story, a very brief one that ties into this titles being spoken aloud in movie theme songs. We'll come back to that later.
I love that.
Yeah. So tonight's all about the behind the scenes stuff, all the stuff that we've all experienced in the robot chicken room, the voice booth, the chaos of just
talking about the tears and the crying and the moaning.
All the times when we wrote sketches that were the funniest thing that's ever been written, and everyone hands down voted no.
Voted no.
Oh. Yes. So just to kick things off, what was your favorite sketch, Dan?
Oh gosh, I can say the sketch I'm proudest of is the giraffe going through the stages of
I was gonna say that is one of my favorites.
I got a slide of that one.
Yeah. That is how I, before the show became more like pop culture parody, I really enjoyed just the absurd sketches that were just things that only we could do, with animation and with toys and just stuff that was weird. And so this was absolutely one of my favorites.
That was a great one, Dan.
I'm trying to think of one that I didn't.
I don't know if I can show a clip of this.
I don't know who animated this, but when Seth breaks down crying, the animation of the crying, like with the tongue, like it is so well animated. It's one of my favorite.
I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. Let me know if this is gonna work.
Dead air. It's kind of.
It's
okay. Never mind.
Nothing like it.
There we go. Yes, and this is the whole sketch is based on this giraffe who's fallen into some quicksand, and he goes through the 5 stages of grief. And I don't think we can show the entire thing, but we can.
There were originally more stages. I think they got trimmed for time.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so he goes through all the stages, and he wanted, but the crying thing. There's the bargaining. We can do the bargaining.
I love it.
Finally accepted.
Are you there, God? It's me, Giraffe. Listen, if you would just give me a mulligan on this quicksand thing, I promise. No more peeing on your shorter creatures.
Judy Blume reference there. Not a lot of Robot Chicken sketches with Judy Blume references.
Yeah, and then there's
there it is. Look at those teeth. That's great. Yeah. That is high grade animation. Just the weight of the head, it's so good.
That is great animation, and that was a great sketch. That is, I think, one of the ones that's consistently up there.
Yeah, it's true.
The 10 greatest Robot Chicken sketches.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's super short, but it was just one of those things that. And then at the very end, when he goes, "Oh, I think I touched the bottom," he doesn't even end up dying. Kev, you got a favorite one?
Of the ones I did, I had such a good time with them, but I do remember for some reason the one where I crossed Shawshank Redemption with Arkham Asylum.
Oh, yeah.
That I always loved doing. And also when I turned Star Trek 2 into an Italian opera.
Yes, that one I forgot about. That is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts about that is I can't remember where, someplace in Middle America, some high school performed it as the Star Trek 2 Italian opera. And I thought, now you've made it. Now you've made it.
I wish I would have pulled that clip.
No, look, you didn't even know I was showing up, Mike.
Yeah, I know. We weren't sure you were going to show up, so it was a tough one.
performance.
Yeah, that one stands as one of my all-time favorites with that, because it was just the puppets and they were doing that silly on stage
over the top.
Yeah.
And we got some great singers to do the actual opera.
Yes, that's true. You actually got opera singers.
Yeah.
We did. It was so great. It was so great. And what's so funny is, my first sketch I ever got in, because as we'll talk about it, I'm sure, we have a quota of sketches to hit every day, and it's a high quota, or at least I thought it was.
Yeah.
And then, so, by Tuesday, when you're bone dry, you're like, it's Tuesday and I'm bone dry. What am I going to do for the rest of the week? And so my first sketch I wrote that got in was for Carmen Sandiego, of myself. And I remember when we were reading later, Seth was like, how do you remember this show? And I was like, I hosted this show. It was like, oh, okay. So ironically, that was the first sketch I ever got. The first main sketch I got in. I think the first channel flip I ever got in was the slee stack in a library, and someone drops a book and they all go, shh.
Yeah, that was great.
That was fun. It was fun. How about you, Mike? What's your favorite?
Oh, geez, there's so many. I'd have to say, like, the one that I wrote probably was the one with the Daredevil and Friends, when he jumps down to a crime scene and he finds out that all these other people got strange powers because of an accident with a chemical truck.
Right.
And one of them lost the sense of taste, but now can smell good. The other one lost her sense of hearing, but now she can taste good.
Jeez.
And then it just went on and on until you got to the one woman at the end who lost her sense of humor, but gained a sense of urgency.
Right. That's right.
And Daredevil's like, an accident with a chemical truck can't take away your sense of humor. And she goes, that's what she said. And he goes, I stand corrected.
That's brilliant, Mike. That's brilliant.
That one was one of my favorites. Oh, then there was also the one where they went to Fantasy Island.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're coming off the plane like they used to do in the old TV show. And he goes, oh, and that's Mrs. Johnson. And she wants to see her husband who's been dead for 20 years. And that's, Mr. Smith. He wants to relive his glory days as a high school football player. And then the other guy gets off and they're like, that's Tommy Tuberville. He wants to have sex with a dinosaur. He goes through this whole thing. And of course, Mr. Rourke gives them the ability to have sex with a dinosaur, and then they all jump in and they're all having sex with dinosaurs. It's so stupid that we come up with these dumb ideas and they get on the show.
Yeah.
Can you agree that I always discovered that I would come up with an idea that I loved and I'd spend all day on it, and then at 3:00 I realized I was short, so I would whip one out of my ass, and then nobody ever cared about the one I spent all day on, but the one you whipped out in the last 2 minutes, they're like, that's great.
Yes,
that's exactly right.
Really?
That's absolutely right.
You struggle and you're like, this is the greatest thing that's ever been written. And it's not even like anybody chuckles at it. They read it, they read the package, they get through it, and they're like, okay, this one. And you're like, everybody's like, no.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is this sense that when, I don't know what this says, but when there's a sense that somebody really wants something to go over, there's wall of resistance gets put up.
Totally.
Now, I've been in other rooms where that's not the case.
You mean healthy rooms?
Yeah. And it doesn't, it's there, everybody is good friends. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those, like, I don't know, just like, I guess it's a very male thing, I guess, just like boys in a pissing contest. Like, if they sense the vulnerability, like everyone just sort of hardens.
So true. And then you find yourself acting as if you didn't write it, like, well, I don't know, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. I mean, just try to downplay it, and you're like, please,
yes.
go in.
Yes, I usually just kept my head down and kind of hoped that they would just say yes, and then just be, internally disappointed. But that was in the first couple of seasons. After that, then I'd be like, you guys suck.
I know. And so when I first came on, I think it was season 2, 3, I can't remember now. Matt told me that the quota was 12 channel flips a day and 8 full sketches a day. So for those first, I think 2 cycles that I was on, I was killing it but killing myself. And then finally, you, Mike, or someone's like, wait, what? Nobody does that. And I was like, nobody does that? And the funny thing was, after you told me that, I was incapable of getting that many sketches in again. It was like, I just, my body couldn't do it. I was like, wow.
It's rough.
It is
It's
rough.
on the
It is rough. I mean, the what they say now, and it has been for years, is it's usually about 4 or 5 sketches. And, you know, if you can do, you know, 10 channel flips, because they're just, you know, 1 sentence things, that's what it is. But even that is tough to do.
It is.
You know, 4 to 5 sketches a day is hard. And that's all day, every day.
And then you also have that balance to do of like, if it's too short, they're not going to accept it. But if it's too long, they're already bored. You know, it's like they don't want the full sketch. They want the idea, but not enough, but too much. It was a whole rigmarole.
It's tricky. And so people should also know, like, in just understanding the room, that like each writer is really responsible for coming up with their own ideas, and then they are either approved or not approved. It's not the kind of writer's room where it's a workshop, because you know, other rooms might do a thing where it's like, oh, well, we like that idea, but we don't love the execution, or somebody like pitches on it and tries to improve it. Like, it's not really a workshop-y environment. It's just sort of like everyone comes up with a bullet list of stuff, and there's yes, no, maybes, and you know, and that, which is fine. But I just think it's interesting to note that, because all rooms are different.
People are always like, it must be a blast. Yeah. And I always say the same thing. I'm like, the first 3 weeks are not a blast. I said the first 3 weeks, it's like a tomb in there. It is so silent with people focusing and doing. And then once the sketches are voted on, and once they get into the script, and once it's compiled, and then as a room, when we all try to punch it up, then yes, then it becomes.
It's like, why are we all sitting in this room? It's not a writer's room. It's a room with writers in it.
Exactly. That's what it is. Because I get that question a lot. They're like, oh, your room must be so great. How is it in there? And I'm like, it is the quietest room you'd ever imagine. It's just, you know, 6 or 7 people sitting around a table typing. Quietly. That's it. Because they're all like, don't you riff off each other? I'm like, no, we can't. We have so many sketches to get in per day that you have to do your own stuff. And then once it comes to the, you know, the punch-up sessions, then everybody's talking. But other than that, it's silent.
One of my favorite people, I don't know what cycle it was probably one of the specials, was Rachel Bloom, because she and I were like, let's just go hang out. Like, we just go and literally sit under a tree and just like come up with shit and bounce off each other and make each other laugh. And it was the most fun I ever had on the show. And we became good friends that way too. You know, it was awesome.
I would just text Mike and Instagram Mike. I got nothing. I got nothing, Mike. What do you have? I got nothing.
That's what we used to do all day. It'd be like noon. Come back from lunch. I got nothing.
And I always tell the story. I always tell the story that literally we're all sitting quietly in a room, and one day someone came and put Girl Scout cookies on the table for us, and then all 8 of us had Girl Scout sketches. It was just like we're just desperate for any bit of material at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because, you know, you get to the point, even at the end of the week, where you literally have no ideas.
Yeah, I know.
Your brain is, you're cruising the internet looking for something, and it's just so hard to catch up with anything. And then, like you were saying earlier, Kev, you come up with the stupidest sketch that you're like, this is never getting in, and it's a channel flip or whatever, even a short sketch, and they're like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Everybody hands up, everybody votes for it.
But you know, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, people should know what is fun is, yes, the room, like the walls are covered with posters and there's toys everywhere. Yeah. It's fun knowing that pretty much anything you could come up with could be produced. Yes. It used to be awesome to be able to walk around stages as stuff was being shot, you know, because that's happening simultaneously with the writing. So that was always just really fun. I mean, it was a kid in a candy store experience. It just wasn't, I think, what people would traditionally assume it is.
Absolutely.
But it was still a really, you know, is a special place to work, and definitely like a sandbox for grown people to play with toys.
We got a question. Which rooms work better, or which do we prefer, the workshop-y ones or the pitch and go ones?
Well, like Dan said, I think the workshopy ones are more fun, and they, in some ways, are a little more gratifying. And in some cases, every now and then when a sketch would get to the script stage, we could open it up and be like, what's going on here? What can we do? And the room together would create a really great sketch. You know what I mean? So I kind of do like those collaborative ones.
I agree. I personally feel that's how collaboration is like a magic thing. And you get such amazing stuff out of it when you take something and you alley-oop it to someone else. And, and then one person or a couple people maybe will guide that, kind of conduct that process a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's absolutely a more
productive. The infamous Emperor sketch. There's a battle between Doug Goldstein and Breckin Meyer, who wrote that. And the truth is, it exists because of the two of them. I think it was Doug's idea, and I think it was Breckin's witty dialogue, but you can't have one without the other. You know what I mean? Yep. So it truly is a collaboration.
Yeah, that's true. We were talking about that one last week. That got us to do the Star Wars specials.
It totally did.
Yep.
It totally did.
That was George Lucas. He saw it and he was like, "Yeah, this is kind of funny." And then he invited everybody up. There it was.
Magic.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he did attend his first Comic-Con this year, and that was one of the first sketches Robot Chicken ever did of him, was going to the first Comic-Con.
Yes, that's right, where everybody attacked him.
Exactly. He had to run to the elevator and stuff.
George's generation was Mad Magazine. He grew up with Mad Magazine, and he was just thrilled to because he's a nerd, and he could not believe how awesome it was that Mad Magazine would do parodies of like Star Wars and Raiders and all that. And when Robot Chicken and then eventually Family Guy started having fun with Star Wars, it seems like now everybody jokes around with Star Wars, but back then that was like him getting to do Mad Magazine again.
It was. And then I left Robot Chicken to create Mad Magazine as the cartoon.
Yes.
And the greatest part of that is, as you said, Dan, everybody who's in comedy was influenced by Mad Magazine. You know what I mean? So I got people like Weird Al came on. Like everybody would come on because they were like, "Oh my God, I so want to do Mad," And what was great for me was, as a fan of the magazine growing up, is to work with the actual people. We had Sergio Aragones. I had I had a room full of 15 animators working away through the evening, and then Sergio would drive down once a month in his convertible with his ponytail blowing in the wind to hand me his sketches. You know what I mean? It was just his drawings. It was just so great. It was really great.
Good times.
We need more of that. We need more of that.
We do. Yeah. We really do.
You got to bring that back.
What'd you say?
You got to bring that back.
I would, if it was up to me, it would be back. It would be back. But I will say for Robot Chicken, it did teach me a lot too. And like I said, on that Tuesday at noon, when you're like, I am bone dry, I think what I always teach myself is like, oh, you can be bone dry, but if you keep forging ahead, something else will crack. You know what I mean? Because then you think I've got nothing, and then eventually you're like, oh. Even if you think it's nothing, to your point, Mike, where you're like, oh, I'll just do this, and people are like, that's great. And you're like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think? Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say it's always good because sometimes someone will pitch a sketch and it won't get in. Yeah. But then you can also run with that idea, like, oh, I got a different take on this.
Totally.
And then you can either collaborate with them or take it off on your own.
Or if they say no to your sketch, you go off and create your own show called Mad and use all the sketches that they never.
Yeah, right.
I remember there was one Star Wars sketch. I don't know what season it was for, but I pitched it, and it was just them. I think the rebels trying to get through a door.
Right.
And I can't even remember the whole thing, but I pitched it, I think, every single day because they rejected it the first time. And I said, I'm getting this one in. So I pitched it every single day for probably over a week. And eventually I hit the right one, or they got tired of hearing me pitch it. So they finally put it on.
That's good.
That's so funny. I had the same thing, but a sadder ending, because I thought there was something funny in the format of in Empire when Han and Chewie are showing up to Cloud City and they shoot at the thing, and he's like, I'm sure he's forgotten about that by then. So I wanted to flash back to, and I came up with a couple of funny ideas. They were like, no. I think I picked like 80 scenarios, like Lando and Han in a cooking contest, and Han ruining his meatloaf with extra salt, to anything ridiculous. They were like, nope.
I think that for the Star Wars specials, there was a tendency to, especially at first, like you literally go through the movies and like you're talking about, like isolate every line, and see like, oh, what can we extrapolate from this? But I think I think that the sketches that had the most success were just a little bit more like, oh, let's take this character like the Emperor and let's just see him a day in his life and open up the character. I liked absurd stuff. Like my favorite sketch that I was so happy got approved for one of the Star Wars specials, I forget which, was just panning the empty apartment that we slowly realize belongs to Greedo, and his mother is leaving a message
the
on the
answering
answering
machine. That's right. That's right. It's so great.
It's just like Greedo's dead. And what's the fallout of that, right? What is the most mundane thing? His mother is wondering where
mail through the slot piling up.
Yes, the dead cat with like the empty food bowl.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Do you think there was an advantage for people who would sort of act the parts? Like some people would not just write, but could kind of perform when they were pitching. Do you think that helped or no? I know it helped if Seth got excited about something and started performing.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of like writing it, once we knew that like Seth MacFarlane was the Emperor, then it was easy to write in his voice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I found that stuff. But yeah, sometimes it would work. Sometimes it would be killed because you're like, oh, they didn't deliver or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think, Mike?
It was easier when you knew the voices. Like once you had that in your head, then it was much easier to find a sketch, or at least say, okay, I can write it like this and they'll like it because it's kind of sounds like
whoever you can picture it in the show already. Yeah.
We had a question of, is it easier for funny people to become writers or writers to learn how to be funny?
I don't think you can necessarily learn to be funny.
Agreed.
I think you can learn to sharpen your sense of humor. It's hard. A sense of humor is, because I just taught a sitcom class, and one of the first things I said is like, I'm not going to judge you on your jokes necessarily. I'm going to teach you like structure and story and character. But you can't really teach someone to be funny. But I think you can learn better how to write comedy, or how to take your sense of humor and make it work for, say, sketch as opposed to sitcom, as opposed to stand up. Like they're very different things. Yeah. And that's my.
I agree with that. I don't think you can learn to be funny. However, there are many different tastes in the world. And I always say, I will put something out in the world and I can guarantee you I'm going to find 10 people online who love it and 10 people who online who hate it. You know what I mean? It's just like, you have to do, I find, what you find funny. You know what I mean? I always set out to do something. And if I've achieved it in my eyes, then it was a success. Now, if you didn't find it funny, I can't help that, but I achieved what I was going for, or I found it funny or whatever. So, I agree with you. I don't think you can really teach funny, but you can teach format. You can teach. And that's the fun thing about Robot Chicken also, is like a good question that we always ask ourselves is, why is Robot Chicken doing it? In other words, there are funny sketches, but could SNL do this?
What makes it unique to Robot Chicken?
Why are we Robot Chicken doing it? And I think that's where, that's why we gravitate towards the pop culture and the toys and the ridiculous
SNL's not going to do Giraffe in Quicksand or Optimus Prime, having a prostate.
Exactly.
I will say also about humor, what I do think you can learn just by osmosis and exposure is, timing and like watching stuff that you think is funny and just sort of like repeating it, and it gets in your head and rhythms and things start to take over. But I don't think that's something that you are outright taught. I do think it's something you just kind of soak up especially as a kid when you just are
Yeah.
watching so many things and they're just eking into your brain.
Well, also like growing up, you know, I watched that documentary recently about Albert Brooks, and I love Albert Brooks mostly from the movies. And when I saw the documentary, I was reminded of his humor as a stand-up. And I remember being a kid and being confused by it.
Oh my God, his albums.
It's hilarious.
They're
but like
so meta.
Martin, Albert Brooks, Andy Kaufman, you know, certain people will look at that and be like, they're not funny. And other people are like, they're geniuses. You know what I mean? So I don't want to discourage anyone who wants to be a comedy writer because there are many different ways into a room, you know? But
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't need to be a funny person.
right.
It's good to have an ear for dialogue and to come up with humorous situations, but you don't need to be like the guy who's always on or the person who's performative and all that. The humor comes in so many different forms.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Now the like the
question, by the way.
This is what always annoyed me about the room. I mean, it's a democratic sort of thing, but it's at the beginning, it was just Matt, Seth, Tom, and Doug voting on the sketches. So you had to get 2 of them at least. So you had to get 3 of them.
Yeah, you had to get 3 of them.
And that was always so hard because if somebody had a bad day, if somebody was like, "Oh, I want to go home. I'm not feeling well," it was like,
Absolutely.
"No," and then you're done.
Or Matt's understanding that like because they had a meeting, he'd be like at 11 or noon, "We're gonna hand in your sketches now." I'm like, I don't write linear. I've got 4 unfinished sketches. I can't hand these in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're all gonna die because they're like, there's nothing here yet.
Yeah. When they opened it up to everybody voting, that was much better. It's still tough because then I mean you just have more people voting your stuff down.
You get more personal. God damn it.
Yeah,
I like those odds. I like those odds.
Yeah, it was much better when everybody got
odds. Much better odds.
Now, Dan, you've done a ton of voices for us. You do Papa Smurf and Skeletor.
Skeletor is always my favorite.
He's your favorite one to do?
Oh my God, yes. A funny thing is, like, it sounds like we're complaining, and it's just that when you talk about inside stuff, there's always going to be these like these things. I don't mean this as a complaint, but I just think it's actually kind of funny that season 1, nobody knew the show, so it was really me, Brecken, Seth, Rachel Lee Cook, 1 or 2 other people who I'm forgetting who did almost all the voices in season 1.
Yeah. So
if you needed an impression, one of us did the impression. If you needed to do characters, so that I had such a reel of characters. And I remember toward the mid to end of that season, I was like, "Oh, I'll introduce your casting director to my agent." And from that point forward, I did like only like less than a third of the voices I used to do because all the other people at my agency started taking over doing all the other parts.
That's hilarious.
And we just kind of got phased out. Plus the show got popular. So if you wanted, Patrick Stewart, you got him, you didn't need someone to do an impression anymore.
Yeah.
But that first season was such a playground, and anything anybody thought of, it was like, "Oh, Dan, can you do a Papa Smurf? Like, can you do a Skeletor?" And you do maybe a couple different voices per episode. I think it was Beavis and Elian Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do a sketch like that anymore.
No. But
No.
Skeletor was awesome because it was so fun, and then you guys obviously kept bringing the character back, and so that made me happy. I got to do so many Skeletor sketches.
Yeah, there was one Papa Smurf sketch that did, and it was very, very early on in the first season where we did a parody of Seven. So it was all the Smurfs were being killed.
Brainy Baker Smurf has been murdered.
And you were in the booth, and this was one of the first records I was at, and you were in the booth, and Seth was just saying, do some ad-libbing for what Papa Smurf would say. And you came up with a line and it was something like, "Oh, I can't believe he did it on the Sabbath day."
Yeah, and on the Sabbath.
Oh, and I lost it. That was one of the funniest things
so
I have
funny.
ever heard in my entire life.
That is so funny.
What a
And
great
I-
time. Because, yeah, it was loose. You could do some improv. And
Well, you know what's so funny is I remember, I think it was season 3, a meeting having to been held to say the show was getting too polished. Like, like the charm of the show was ragtag,
good note.
everything you're talking about, Dan. You know what I mean? And then the animators were getting so good at it. That they were kind of like, wait, I think we're getting too good, guys. We're setting the bar very high. It needs to go back to the, you know, the janky look to it.
That's a really interesting point, because you want to encourage board artists and animators to like really, we should say that like before the animators get their hands on it, a board artist, sometimes they're the same person at Robot Chicken, will interpret the sketch and create the key poses and all that. And obviously they don't want to get bored, and they want to challenge themselves, and they want to outdo one another, you know, and healthfully compete, you know. But it is interesting that with a show like that, it makes sense that it needed to be reined in a little bit, because it's true. You want it to feel like we're playing with toys.
Right.
The more articulate the puppets got, you know, because it used to be fun that they were kind of stiff, you know. They were never as stiff as they would be if you just took them off a shelf and tried to make stop motion with them. A lot of the toys had to be broken and given extra joints and things like that. But
yeah,
the
after a while,
it got,
made our own armatures, you know, because it was. Although I was saying to someone the other day, it was a proud geek moment for myself when during Robot Chicken, I think one of us had pitched a $6 million man sketch, and then when we got the doll, we all realized, oh, they all have a huge hole because you were able to look through his head for his bionic vision. What are we gonna do? And then all of a sudden I was like, Maskatron, which was and then he had the mask of like Steve Austin, so we used that so it didn't have the hole in it. That was like
genius.
All those years of geekdom really paid off.
So
but Mike,
funny.
do you remember, I think it was season 4, you and I became co-creative directors.
Yes.
And to your point, Dan, I guess we were realizing that the departments were doing great work, but they weren't speaking to one another. So in other words, we would write a sketch in the writer's room, and then we wouldn't see it again until it aired or around. And we were like, that's not what we had in mind.
Oh, wow.
So Mike and I became co-creative directors, which meant we kind of traveled with the sketch.
Oh,
we
good.
went from
Yeah.
the writer's room to the costumes to make sure that's what the writers were representing. And then we went to the director, and then we went to the sets, and we went to that to be like, oh yeah, this is what we were thinking. So it didn't get kind of, there was more synergy between all the departments.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah. That was fun going down to the sets every day.
Yeah.
Seeing the setups and be like, no, this one needs to be a little more tweaked. It needs to look like this, or they wanted this on the wall or something like that.
Exactly.
Just to really.
I think on a typical animated series, that would be the job of the supervising director.
Correct.
Really, you know, you'd have teams, and each team, you know, there would be a director on each sketch, maybe, or maybe the director, the board artist, and the animator are the same people on Robot.
Yeah,
but like
very easily.
typically there would be somebody overseeing everything and making for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool. That's cool. Who's doing that now?
Oh, geez.
I have no idea.
Probably. I mean, I know that.
Well, no one now.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Shepard was doing all the directing, so I'm sure he was down there every day setting things up and making sure they all, because he would also be in the room with us, right, and stuff. So then he would just take himself down, because he would leave about halfway through the season to go back and start directing.
What season did he join the show? He was a great get for the show.
Season, I want to say 4 or 5, maybe.
It might have been 5.
He's a jack of all trades.
He is. He really is. He's great.
Yeah, so good. Used to do Annoying Orange, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes, those were good times.
Good times. Now that, yeah.
Yep. Did you guys ever write any sketches that you wanted to do the voice for? Like, were you writing a sketch going, oh, I'd be great for this voice?
Whenever there was a musical, whether I wrote it or didn't write it, people would usually give it to me because I was always trying to pitch the musicals. And so I would sing the lyrics and do all of that. So I think just because of not ownership, but the ability to sell what I was going for, sometimes I would pitch myself as like, I hope I get to do this song, you know. And other than the first sketch where I was Carmen Sandiego, you know, this Carmen Sandiego sketch, I was like, I guess I'm going to be doing this one.
I'm going to be singing. I'm doing this.
I can't really think of any. I wanted to be the Crate Dragon in the Crate Dragon sketch that I did for Star Wars 2, I think.
And you were great as it.
It just couldn't work out. Also, a sketch about basically a creature with a long neck sticking out of a body of water.
Yes. Oh, wait, you know what? You're right. That wasn't that Andy. Did it go to
I think it was Fred Tatasciore, maybe, or I actually don't know. I don't remember. It was Carrie Fisher as his wife and someone else.
I think it was Andy Richter, because in my head I hear him saying,
"Oh yeah,
great dragon's gonna blah blah blah."
You're right. Look out, world! Here comes
Look out, world!
Right. And then you see 3PO walking by the skeleton.
That's right. He was also Forlom or Zuckuss.
Yes, the two of them were Forlom and Zuckuss.
And then we brought them back in Star Wars Detours, him and Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah. Exactly.
That episode is the one that leaked too. It's basically a sequel to the Robot Chicken sketch.
Oh, there was a leaked episode of Detours?
Yeah. Really? It was the one with the two of them.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't see that.
I was talking about that tonight, and the fact that there is a whole 3 seasons written, 2 seasons produced animated Star Wars sitcom that's sitting on a shelf.
That's a whole separate podcast, but
it's so true.
I believe someday that could be repackaged. I think it would need to be sort of re-edited and repackaged.
I agree.
But I do think that a lot of it could be salvaged and, put out for posterity.
I think sadly what happened, in my estimation, I could be wrong about this, but I think Disney had just bought Star Wars. So all roads were leading towards episode 7, right? And so they didn't want anything coming out that wasn't episode 7. And we had created this sitcom, and even though we were done before Disney took it over, it looked very what you fear would happen if Disney took over Star Wars. The design was a little, cutesy and stuff.
Yeah, we didn't know what to be afraid of back then.
I know. Well, we put a pause on it because of that. And then I think in that moment, Lego kind of stepped in and we're going to do the animated comedy.
Yeah, it was more kid friendly, and that was after they'd already established some of the new movie and everything. Yeah, there's a few reasons. I think there's a checklist. It was a perfect storm of things that came together, and I agree that was the main the main one. It was a George project. This happens to all projects when a new regime comes in, right? The show that you're working on, the new regime comes in and tends to drop it. And even though it was George F. and Lucas, once the new regime came in, they were like, "No, thank you, Mr. Lucas.
No, thank you."
Yeah.
But again, as I always say, our journey was not to see that come to life. Our journey was to sit in a room with George Lucas and have create.
Oh, dude, what a dream! What a dream! Weeks on end up at the ranch, like summer camp, and actually getting to literally just hang out with him.
And then after every session, where he go, "You guys feel like watching Raiders?" Like, yes.
You guys want to watch Red Tails?
We've got a meeting at 9. Maybe we should go to bed today.
Try to get a picture of that deer.
Somebody said Detours make a good palate cleanser for the Acolyte.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was going up to Lucas Ranch was great when they invited us all up there, and we got to wander around and see Ewok Lake.
I know.
And the archives and everything.
That's the Star Wars specials led to that. There would be these little parties for the Star Wars specials, and then eventually we got to go up for writing cycles for Detours. It was the best time ever, and so many great people on that project.
So many, and something so magical, obviously. But I mean, if we can go back and tell our 10-year-old selves that we'd be in a room and George Lucas would be laughing at the lines we wrote, you know what I mean? Just to hear him laugh about the sketches we wrote and produced, it's kind of like, wow, pinch me.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Good old times, good old
Mike,
days.
you have a grand piano in your back?
Oh, well, you know, sometimes that's what happens when you got Hollywood money.
It's just a JPEG.
I was gonna say, I'm impressed. You're doing well.
I have because usually my background is just like a blank wall.
Right.
And Buddy's always saying, you look like you're in a prison cell. So I have to change it up now and then.
I love it. I think
And I like this one. It looks like you know, big Hollywood house.
Exactly, which is what you live in. So you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Oh, like piano envy.
Yes.
There you go. Yep. So
Yeah.
true.
It's grand.
I know it. I know it.
Uh,
Now, doesn't Robot Chicken, and forgive me if it already came out, I forget, they have another special that just came out about Discovery, right?
yes, we just that was our last week's show. We did the Robot Chicken Discovery special.
Excellent.
It was just, yeah, we just had Matt and Seth on, and they were taking us through the whole thing and how it all happened and that, because that was, I mean, that was a long time coming. That was, I don't even know how many years it went without there being any Robot Chicken on, any new Robot Chicken on. I mean, they always had repeats.
Yeah, it's true.
But then, and that one was, at least took like at least a year to get that one all up and running.
Wait, Mike, I have a question for you, actually for both of you. Who is a guest star voice that you were so happy to have come on and do a voice for Robot Chicken? Was there anybody special, unique that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe we got so-and-so?
Yeah, it was, I think probably the most impressive for me was Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise.
Yeah.
I mean, just to see them come in and be in the booth, and they were just playing the whole time, just playing with each other and riffing each other up. That doesn't sound very good, but they were just having a good time.
You can say that on Robot Chicken, though.
Yes.
It was like the end credits to the Cannonball Run movies, but it was happening in real time.
Yep.
They were great.
I wasn't there, but I heard, and it sounded magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Meeting Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher was a dream, especially since Hamill was it turned out he was a big fan of Warren the Ape, which almost nobody has seen.
I was
he knew every line of every episode.
I know. So amazing.
Seth was like, oh my God, Mark's going to freak out. That was amazing. But the person that I was so happy to meet in season 1 was Al Yankovic. And I remember I had a chance to just sit with him while we were both waiting to go in and do voices. And I was like able to tell him, like, you know, I was a weird kid. I was very uncomfortable in my skin, and the In 3D album was just so mind blowing, and my friends and I loved it so much. And it just, like, I wasn't afraid to be weird and stupid in front of people at school. And I started becoming more of a clown because I just felt safe, you know. And then he was so sweet about it. And ever since then, at any kind of function we would have or whatever, he would like cross a room to say hello. He sends a Christmas card every year.
I was going to say, he is the nicest guy in the
man.
world. Everything you hoped he would be.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. If you reach out to him, he reaches back.
Yeah,
but somebody like that who had such a cultural impact, it's great that he was a nice guy, because, you know, sometimes you meet your heroes and they it's the opposite. But yeah, regardless of what happened since, just meeting him at all was really cool.
Yeah,
he was definitely big in my brain growing up.
Yeah. Who was yours, Kev?
There was a bunch of them. Like Dan said, you know, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher were great, but I have to say, meeting Stan Lee, I worked with him a couple of times. I worked with him but the first time I met him was on Robot Chicken. That was kind of mind blowing. And then I worked with him on Mad, and I worked with him on my own Spider-Man series. But I think the second time I had him in the booth, I said, Stan, I don't know if you remember, I said, we worked together on Robot Chicken. And in typical Stan Lee, he said, I remember, you wore those same pants.
Oh my God.
It was such a great line.
That's beautiful.
Stan, yeah, he was a character. I remember him coming in. He had the sketch that we did with Pam Anderson.
Right.
She didn't do her own voice, but he was there, and he came into the booth. I think we actually did a like a director's comments or something on one of the DVDs, and he was in there, you know, being typical Stan Lee.
Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Did anybody ever come in who you were like kind of like disappointed, not in the person, but in the performance, where you were like, oh, they're going to come in and they're going to nail it, and then they didn't do what you kind of hoped they would do?
That happened a lot for me on Mad.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but just to get to your point, I think people assume doing voiceover work is easier than it looks.
Yes.
And people think if you're a celebrity, an actor, well, clearly you can do voices. And that's just not the case. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get people in there, you're like, oh no, this is, you know, they're a great actor, but it's not coming across in the voice acting world that you want.
I remember when Billy D. Williams came in to read something, and the other thing to realize is that, oh, I've watched Empire Strikes Back 1,000 times. I know every line. I know the rhythm of every line.
Yep.
He has not. He just hasn't.
He watched it once. That was
of course he hasn't. Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
exactly.
a couple times, right? So he comes in, and there was something he needed to do, and he needed to turn on the Lando charm and all that, and he was just like, "Hey, hey, Han, let's you and me go get a hamburger," and you're like, could you do that again, but more like you in the movie? Now, that said, we got the performance, and he came back and he did more since then, and he did Detours, and he was freaking incredible. Like, he nailed it. So it was also just maybe that day he was a little off.
I have to say, we brought him in on Mad, and he did Lando, of course. But then we had, again, it's a really ridiculous sketch, but we had a series called Attorney with a Booger. And it was an attorney who won every case because he always had a booger, and the jury was transfixed by this booger. And so whenever they were told it, they'd be like, not guilty? I don't know. And so he had the line, he meets another attorney at the end, and she's got a booger. And I will never, and I'm not even into this type of humor, but I will just never in my mind hear him say, he was like, that's the most beautiful booger I've yeah. It was so good. He was so good. So yeah,
you're like, the Colt 45, do the Colt 45 voice, you know.
Exactly. Well, you know, I used to do some Broadway theater, and I had worked with Ethan Hawke on stage. We were in the Seagull together. And then years later, after training day, I did like a training day sketch, but it was Godzilla and Godzuki on their first thing. And they actually got Ethan Hawke to do it. And I wasn't there in the room, but apparently he was like, I'm just doing this because my girlfriend said it was a good idea to do it. So I was kind of glad I wasn't there to reunite with him.
Just getting the paycheck. Didn't care at all.
Paycheck.
Oh, we got Buddy on. Hi, Buddy. Buddy's the co-host.
Oh no, Adam West.
He said, huh? he met Adam West. I've never heard the actual story. I've just heard the aftermath. But he met Adam West, and he was so disappointed.
Really?
And meeting him, yeah, it's.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you can't meet your heroes.
It's tough.
I'm sorry. I'm
sorry.
Yeah.
And again, you know, sometimes it's sometimes they're just a bad day for them too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't feel like being your chum, old chum.
I saw that comment. I'm very happy you liked the training day sketch. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, there we go. Godzilla's training day.
That's great.
I will say it's so good to see, not that we're wrapping up necessarily, but it's so good to see you both. I know we don't, you know, our lives bring us to different parts of the world and country and all sorts of stuff, but it's always, you know, and I don't want to sound like we don't see each other. We talk to each other all the time, but to see your faces in person right here on Zoom is always so nice.
Is nice. It feels like being around the table.
It does.
Yeah, because that was always the best part. I mean, it was always disappointing when your sketches didn't get in, or if you just had a crappy day. But going in and seeing everybody, that was always fun, because you know you had lunch, and there were always jokes and things that were sent around the room, and stupid text messages you send each other so nobody else can hear.
Yeah, everybody got along. It was like it was a friendly place. It wasn't like you know, because some sketch shows you hear stories where it's like cutthroat.
I
and
know.
everything.
I know.
It was nothing like that. I mean,
You're
everybody.
saying, what's the point? I know there's comedy shows that people are there till 3 a.m. and you're like, really? It's comedy. We shouldn't be working that hard.
Yeah.
I think the latest we ever had to stay at the office was like 7 o'clock one time because we were behind on sketches and they needed to get something
Right.
the last one in. But other than that, it was like, oh, you know, after the meeting at 5 o'clock, everybody just goes home.
Yeah, I never keep writers late. They're not going to be productive, and it's rarely any point. And then it's usually if there's something that needs to be done like that, it's usually the showrunner's job to do.
Well, exactly. And you know,
that's when you take it and you do what needs to be done.
Absolutely. And you know, Phil Rosenthal is a friend, and he did Everybody Loves Raymond, and he would constantly say, I expect my writers to be able to write about a family. How are they going to bring in stories if I have them in the office, you know, from 9 until 11 o'clock at night? I need them to go home and live their lives. And I think that makes total sense. You know,
I'm writing on the Stranger Things animated show, and it's a super healthy room, super healthy and collaborative and cool. And the hours are great. And yeah, it's such a nice room to be in.
But I will say, Mike, I've been in writers' rooms where I want to text you. Mike, I got nothing.
You can text me anytime, even if I'm not in the writer's room. Mike, I got nothing. I'll be like, what are you talking about?
I know.
I don't have a thing that shows me like who or how many people are watching, but does anybody have any questions in particular?
Yeah, we got a couple of commentators. It looks like we got not too many, only 5 people in the room.
Ooh,
including
we got one from our friend Andrew, who's in Australia.
Oh, Andrew, way to go!
Nice for beginning writers. Right a lot.
Yeah,
Kevin
I was going to say right. That's what. That's me. No, you're over here now. You know, people say to me like, "Oh, I feel like an imposter. I have an imposter syndrome." I was like, "You're not an imposter if you're writing. You should just write, because you know there's that old adage that you need 1,000 or 10,000 hours of anything before you're good at it, but that you don't need 10,000 hours to call yourself a writer. We are all getting better the more we write, and we learn and we experience and we talk and we collaborate. But you need to have the work. You need to keep doing it, because someday you will get that opportunity, and they're going to say, "What do you got?" And oh, this is great. What else you got?
Yeah.
And you should always be writing. And the other thing, and not to bogart, but what I learned too early on was it doesn't have to be the great American novel. It doesn't have to be a 120-page screenplay. I got more jobs off of a 3 or 4 page sketch I did for Robot Chicken than sometimes if I had an entire screenplay. People need to know your flavor and your, you know, I don't want to say brand, but your type of humor. And you can convey that quickly in many different ways.
I have a couple quick things. One is I think that unless you're somebody who has a really easy time writing on your keyboard, sometimes I think the blinking cursor can be intimidating. And I think writing freehand is one of the best ways to keep things breezy and light. And then you wait until you sit down at your computer to then like transcribe and polish and, you know, see how something looks. Another piece of advice is make sure you have people read what you've written. I mean, out loud. If you're writing for like TV, or you're writing dialogue, or you're writing a movie, like hear it. Have people read it back to you so you can hear what the dialogue sounds like. You can hear pacing, and you can, because it can sometimes be very different. You might even see, oh, people are reading it in a way I didn't expect them to, which means I need to make an adjustment on the page. And then lastly, my favorite thing, pick the movie or TV show you love the most and sit down there with a pad and reverse engineer writing it. Like pause after every scene and be like, you know, here's what this line of dialogue told me. Here's what just this visual conveyed to me. Here's what the scene was about. Like just deconstruct stuff. If you have a brain that enjoys that, you will learn a tremendous amount.
True.
Yeah, that was always good. I've done that a few times on just, you know, when you're trying to write, you know, like an hour-long pilot. Yeah. And you just go and you pick your favorite show and you just sit down and you map it out scene by scene and what happens in each thing and how you follow the structure of the, you know, the script is going. Yeah, that's always a good thing to do.
And also, you know, when you're writing, I know we're always usually on deadlines, but walk away from something and come back to it. Because at the end of the day, writing a script is really about communicating your ideas and your lines. And sometimes if people read it and they don't understand it or don't get it, and you're like, why don't they get it? There's a reason why. And look, sometimes people are lazy readers too, but that doesn't mean you can't adapt it for them. And sometimes I'll write something that I think is brilliant, and then I'll put it away for a while and come back to it. And I'll be like, what the hell was I thinking? What do I even mean by this?
That was the first thing I ever wrote, like the first script I ever wrote. I thought it was the greatest piece of literature that had ever been written. And I sent it in and it got rejected. And I was like, all upset. And I threw it in a drawer and I said, they're going to regret that. And then I went back to it probably like a year later and read it. And I said, thank God nobody picked this up, because it was absolutely terrible.
Oh, that's so funny. So funny.
Yeah, you definitely have to keep writing and you know, put it away sometimes, and definitely let your friends read it. Like the friends who, you know, like you guys who've been in the industry and know what's what, let them read it and have them give you the real honest to God feedback.
And friends you trust. And I think it's important that you said that, because like you guys are both in my circle of people that I will give stuff to read, because sadly, you know, there's a lot of baggage out there too. And you can have some good friends who are good writers, but you know, maybe they had an idea like yours, or maybe they said, sometimes you just got to get a clean review.
Your friend group and your peers is also how you break into the industry, because you come up with the people around you and you meet people through the projects you do. And those projects actually will start amateur, you know? So like you write a sketch, you write like, you know, the adventures of pen and pencil case, and you just do a quick, weird, funny thing that is for TikTok or whatever. Or you have a friend who is like, likes to act out or wants to be a stand-up, and you write material for them and for their channel, or they need somebody to shoot something. So even though you're a writer, you're going to film for them, right? And you're going to hold the camera because they need somebody to do that. And then they're going to come and they're going to read your thing for you. And then it's great to join like improv groups. Even if you have no goal of being an actor or an improviser, you join a group, because whether it's like, you know, video making or improv, because you're going to meet other creative people who have talents that you don't.
Yeah.
And then you're going to make shit together that is going to eventually, like, for one, train you. You're going to learn just by doing. And the other thing is, like, someone somewhere gets a little exposure and suddenly the door opens for them. And maybe they're you know, now a personality and they're getting an opportunity to be on something, and they can bring you with them, or even in years from now, have an opportunity like that. I broke in on public access TV because YouTube was still in its like first years when I was starting out. But it was just me and my college buddies making stuff constantly. And I know today, like, our friends who are writers, like a lot of them are stand-ups and a lot of them are amateur filmmakers. And, you know, the person that was making driveway movies, who was in my circle friend, is Sean Baker. He just won 4 Oscars this past year.
Amazing.
I was like, what? Oh my God.
I know.
He just makes horror movies in his kitchen, you know, like, but it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Dan, I always say, like, if you go back and look at pictures of Leo DiCaprio when he was young, you'll always in the background see an unknown Sam Rockwell or an unknown Squire, because we do succeed in groups and we help each other. You know, Matthew Perry always said that by the time he auditioned for Friends, he had read that role so many times for other people who were up for that audition. And so he knew those sides frontwards and backwards, because every one of his friends had auditioned for it and he was their reader at home. You know, you support each other. And like Dan, like you just said, you never know, you know, what you're really doing is you're earning trust and you're earning a reputation as being someone solid who we all have each other's backs. Every time I get into a writer's room, I try and give it a shot to someone new, but I will always have 1 or 2 people that I know to have my back and who I can trust and who I know are there for the greater good.
And I want to know who that new person likes and who their friends are.
Yeah.
Like I will say to like young like writers, animators, actors, just like, who do you like? Who are you watching? Who do you hang out with? Who's funny? Like, because they come and they bring, all this like fresh, energy with them. So that's really the way to do it. That's really the way to do it, is just to do it, which sounds lame, but yeah, if you love it, you will. If you love it, you will also, it helps if you are obsessive compulsive and you can't not do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, it's focus on other things, but you're sitting there trying to concentrate and you're just like and
it's no accident that both of you worked on Mad.
Yes,
I
right.
bring people that I can trust and that I love and who I find really funny.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, that is some good advice, guys, and I think our viewers will definitely find some use in that.
I hope so, man.
That, we are almost out of time.
Well, this was great.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on, guys. Just to go back and reminisce and remember all the good times in that room.
Absolutely. And they were good times.
So definitely thanks for coming on, guys. We'll get you back on at some other point.
Please.
And do you have any of your socials? You want to pitch out any socials and where they can find you and where people can see you?
Yeah, sure. Dan, where would I find you?
I've mostly been off socials. I have Dan Milano's Insta on Instagram. Yeah, I after doing developing Wings of Fire, I just haven't been doing as much social media. So my Instagram is probably the best place to reach out for me.
That's a good place to find. I'm at Kevin Shinick. It says it right there, right here.
Other side.
Oh, so that's where I am here. Oh well, it's too bad. At Kevin Shinick, and that's across all social media, whether it's X or Instagram, but Instagram is where I go mostly, I think.
Nice. And our buddy says thanks for coming on, Dan and Kevin.
Thanks, buddy.
Of course, buddy.
We're glad you're here. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. And everybody, we will see you next Tuesday.
See you.
See you, buddies. Bye.
Bye.
And we are.